Welcome to the Cowboy Up Podcast, where talk is all about the West. This episode is brought to you by White Stallion Ranch and produced by Cowboy Spirit Radio Network. Players, ponies, mounts, chuckers, and a 300-yard by 160-yard field. What game are we talking about today? If you guessed polo, you guessed right. Let's get over to the ranch with Russell and Alan and learn more about the game and its presence in the Arizona desert.
Morning, Alan. How are you?
Always the same answer. I'm always glad to be here.
Your voice a little raspy. It's like mine. You got a cold or something going on?
Maybe if I talk a little more, it'll smooth out. I think it will.
Yeah, I don't, man. I did a TV thing for talking about that Lainey Wilson video, and every word I spoke hurt. So anyway, today we've got Stephen True, polo player, sitting right here with us, and the creator and the head of where Stephen plays polo now, Dr. Diego Fernando Florez. He's with us. He was born in Colombia, South America. In his young years, he traveled with his father and visited farms and became familiar with cattle and horses. After he graduated the University of Caldas Veterinary School, Dr. Florez practiced large animal medicine in Colombia, and he did that on dairy and beef farms. He later moved to New York City. That's probably was a bit of a change, where he started to learn about the small animal side of veterinary. He pursued studies at Purdue University, then went on to work at emergency clinics in New York and Phoenix, Arizona. 2001, he purchased his own clinic, Aztec Animal Hospital, and that's one of the practices that he still owns. In 2015, he acquired a second practice, Quartz Mountain Animal Hospital in Scottsdale. 2008, Dr. Florez began volunteering his time in the world of polo, and now a USPA delegate manager of the Arizona Polo Club. He built a polo field in Pinal County. That's the area, for those of you between Phoenix and Tucson, and Casa Grande is sort of the center of it. It's currently the only regulation size polo field in Arizona. 2022, he started the Scottsdale Polo Academy, which we will talk about, and also started the largest event in the U.S. with about 12,000 attendees. Great to have you. Thank you, Doctor.
Hey, thank you, guys. Thank you, Alan, Russell, and Steve. Thank you for inviting me over.
Well, we can start anywhere, but maybe talk a little bit about, I've heard that your operation takes up about 10 acres. Is that
the field itself, anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that your backyard or?
No, it is. I bought a ranch in Casa Grande about 2016 with the intention of creating a dedicated polo field because the polo fields that we had in Arizona are just rental fields for car shows, dog shows, any you name it. So people are now willing to invest on horses and develop their polo strings if they don't have a place to practice polo regularly. So I thought that was going to be a better solution to develop polo in the future. So, and also become independent of the city of Scottsdale, which is the city was renting the polo field to us. I think that became one of my main goals. And also, since we always have farms, may as well get a little farm while we're at it. And the 10 acres is only the polo field. Actually, it's 12 acres on the polo field. We have a big polo field regulation size and parking lot and a stick and ball field that gives us 12 acres plus another about 25, 30 acres around it for pastures and for mainly pastures and barns and other operations there, but it's mainly polo ponies for breeding, training, and enjoying the horses. That's pretty much what we dedicate ourselves down there.
Do you do a lot of advertising about the availability of stalls and horse facilities, or are you overfilled?
Here's the deal. I think that we're trying to focus on polo. So I'm trying to just mainly serve polo people. If somebody comes there and they're not from polo, want to try polo, yes, we will do it, but I don't advertise boarding for non-polo people most of the time.
And you're it for the Tucson area, is that right?
Yeah, I think it is. It's unfortunately we don't have more polo people coming around, but yeah, yeah. So far so good. We are the only people. Tucson, Phoenix, and yeah, pretty much everything in Arizona.
So every sport rises and falls, and I mean it. You know, there's a surge and then there's a decline. And how's polo? How's it? What stage are they at the moment?
Where are we in polo? Depends on the economics, but I think polo is in a rise in the level of what we call arena polo or indoor polo. Outdoor polo is it demands more of anybody's budget because the horses will get. The field is so big that you pretty much wear out at least 4 horses per game. While the arena, you can double up horses and people can get mounted quicker. And it's more accessible because the arenas in the city, you get arenas, while in these bigger polo facilities they're not that close to the centers of the city anymore. So it's becoming a little bit harder for people to access these places, and they've been developed into residential areas, commercial areas. So, but in general, polo is growing. The fastest growing sector in polo is the women, kids. So there's a different segment of polo development right now, and the United States Polo Association are putting a good budget behind advertising and developing polo. But it's not up to them to develop. It's up to the local clubs and communities to
people like you.
Yes.
So Stephen True here sitting with us, he went out for his tour of the college where he ended up going, Cornell, and one of our longtime guests, Pete Johnson, had been captain, quite a while before, of the polo team at Cornell. So Stephen True says to me, I want to go see where Mr. Johnson played polo. So we show up, we have a little look around. It's indoor arena polo, as you've described. And so then he sees there's going to be a women's game that night. And so he said, could we stay? We were going to leave that day. And I said, yes. So we go and we end up meeting the coach. And to your point, the faster growing piece is the women's. And the coach came up and chatted us up and said, why are you here? We said, why? And he said, are you interested in playing polo? And Stephen said, oh, yeah. He said, you ever written English? No, absolutely not. What do you do? Well, I do this cowboy stuff. And he goes, well, I think you'll probably make the team. He said, if you were a girl, maybe not. He says, they'll be lined out to the freeway. But he said, we don't have so many of the boys. So Stephen played 4 years as a Cornell polo player at one of the best programs, of course, in college polo. But it's all indoors. And Stephen, maybe you can talk about your coach. I remember the quote. He said, comparing field polo and arena polo is like soccer and hockey. And is that accurate? And talk about arena polo.
Yeah, well, I've definitely not played soccer nor hockey, but I've watched them. But I believe the metaphor is correct because in arena polo, the field is 1/9 the size of an outdoor field. It's much smaller, and it's walled in completely. There's boards all around perimeter. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word perimeter, and it's netted in as well, so you can take shots that bounce off walls. You can sit there and hug it up against the wall while keeping the man off you, and walk it down to goal. And it was much more about hitting the other player because you can do what's called a ride off, so you can ride your horse into another player and push them to gain control of the ball, or at least take control of the ball away from them. So it was much more hockey-ish. There's a lot more turning back and forth, going along the sidewalls, stuff like that. And then outdoor,
there are rules too about crossing in front of somebody. Isn't that true?
Oh yeah, so there's rules. There's so outdoor polo is much bigger. It's more about positioning. You're still riding off and stuff. And then to your point with crossing in front of people, it's the biggest rule in polo. The one that takes also sometimes people the longest to learn would be what's called the line. So every time you hit the ball, it creates an invisible line in front of and behind it, and you have to stay on your side. And that's mainly for safety because everybody now has to play with their right hand. Nobody's allowed to be left-handed unless they've been registered as a left-handed player since before 1985. So once the line is established, until it's hit by another player or the same player and the line is reestablished, you have to stay on your side unless you cross over it during a ride-off. Or you're far enough ahead or far enough behind deemed safe.
Is it marked in any way, or everybody just knows where it is?
You just have to figure it out by watching the movement of the ball and seeing, which side, if the player takes it on what would be, there's the offside and the near side. If a player takes it on his offside, now, he's on the left side of the line and you're on, you're on the right. So you have to judge it by movement of the ball and when the last player hit it.
So at the end of the game, there are a lot of arguments, or not?
During the game, not so much after, perhaps. But
really?
For the most part, people know when they've fouled, if you will, because you get too excited and you see the ball or something. During official matches, there's umpires out there who are watching and calling it. Typically, most of the arguments come in as if somebody's coming in at an angle that they deemed safe to come in on the line, and the player who was already on the line deemed it as unsafe, is when you see some arguments.
Well, how long have you been playing?
Well, I played for 4 years in school, so as Dad said, we watched the girls' game. It seemed so exciting I had to play, so I went, tried out, got on the freshman team, played 1 year freshman, and then I made it to the varsity team, played 3 years varsity. So I played those 4 years, and then in the summer I got jobs grooming for people. So I would go work for families that owned horses to keep them in shape and get them ready for games. And then as payment,
mostly those horses polo horses?
They were. Yeah, I don't think anybody I worked for had anything that wasn't polo. Yeah. They were all in.
You all were in your own little group that was all polo.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then I would work for them, and then as payment for maintaining their horses, I got to play. So they would pay my entry fees and stuff, so I didn't get any cash, but I got to play. And then I didn't play once I graduated. I went in Montana, and I worked in Montana a couple years, and then came back to Arizona in 2013. And then my wife has been telling me for about 7 years to go play because she knows how much I love it. And then I finally listened to her, and last May I started playing again up at Diego's club.
So Diego, how's he doing?
He's doing great. I mean, we know it's
if you need to, but
no, Steve is a great player, and he has good fundamentals on polo, and obviously he's been riding for a long time, so he's comfortable on the horse. And to the point of why women are getting the highest growth segment is because most girls, they've been put into equestrian programs since little girls. And they go hunting, jumping, they go all dressage, all these disciplines. And that doesn't happen to boys. The boys will go football, baseball, soccer, whatever, but it's not equestrian discipline is the first thing that comes to mind for the boys, which might be a cultural issue and traditions in every country. And I think that is the reason why when women get to school and university level, they know how to ride. So getting a horse is not a big deal. For guys, unless you have been on a horse before, you can appreciate that. But for guys, it's a challenge. So they always want to continue to do basketball, baseball, football, blah, blah, blah. And then it's the very few that don't have any hobbies that sometimes get the intrigue of, okay, what is polo like to be? And those are the ones that those are the ones that get hooked and they really enjoy it. And there's some other sports, obviously, that people cross over. We've seen a lot of people from motocross. They come to polo for some reason. They see adrenaline hikes And these guys do really well because they have the balance and they squeeze with the knees. And it's very, even though it's a machine versus an animal, it's very similar the way that you support yourself and you handle this, the sport. So, but it is a very, I think that's my thought about why women are getting higher in the number of, growth segment, versus guys. And you have
women in your club, right? I mean, it's for everybody. It's not.
Yeah. We have women and some kids.
It's only segregated at the interscholastic, which is high school and intercollegiate level. Other than that, polo is, unless there's a women's only tournament or something, but typically polo is not segregated.
And since you came from Colombia, Argentina's, is it the mecca of polo now, or at least one of them?
Correct. Argentina is the biggest producer of polo ponies and polo players.
How about Colombia? Do they have a polo culture?
It is. They have polo culture, but it's not like most countries. It's a very elitist sport. So it's not as common as in Argentina, but they have really good polo. And as a matter of fact, the main polo club in Bogota is composed by 150 members. And out of those 150 members, they don't have professional players in the sense that they get paid to play, but those players are anything from 0 to 6 goals, 7 goals, being a doctor, being a lawyer, being an accountant, being a industrialist. So those people have dedicated themselves to learn how to play polo, and they have advanced quite a lot in polo. Even though they're not professional players, they have really high handicaps. So, and some of them, they have 2-3 generations of polo families, so it's a big difference. I didn't play in Colombia. I learned how to play here in Arizona. I got late to the polo game, I guess, but, I rode horses at the ranch, and when I was growing up in Colombia, so I always been around horses and cattle, and, so.
It was easy for you to learn then.
Yeah, I thought I had it, but believe me, it's a big learning curve coming from a Western saddle to a English saddle, and all these things, rules and everything else. It's not easy to learn the sport. And if you don't have a place to learn it properly, it's more difficult. And that's part of the reason why I decided to put the polo school together at some point, because the way that I learn is the wrong way to learn. It's like they threw me out there on the field. It's like go hit the ball and go, good luck. That is the wrong way to do it, in my perspective. And then now people want to have a structured way to learn how to play polo. This is how you hit the ball. These are the rules. This is your positioning, and this is how you behave. All those little details that nobody's telling you when they throw you just on the field, and they just tell you to go, oh, that was a foul, and you wonder why. It's because of this. They're trying to explain the rules as they go, but it's not the same if you learn on the school, on the academy, and then you step up to the next coach trackers and the next level, and then the slow trackers, and then the little faster trackers, and then the progression is natural progression, not just a crazy throw you under the bus and good luck.
Right. Well, we're gonna take a quick break. We've done what we do. We've gone a little over time.
Hey, thank you for listening to the Cowboy Up podcast program. It's always something new, fun and challenging, and interesting. I'm Stan Houston. I'm the gentleman who came up with this idea 4 or 5 years ago, and Russell said, let's give it some thought. Well, he finally did, and now he has the privilege and the pleasure of being, along with Alan and Lynn, producing this fine program that goes all around the world. I have the privilege and the pleasure to work with a number of people who want to do with podcast work. And just recently, there was a best podcast that was awarded in Great Britain. And here's the story. It wasn't a group of professionals. It was 6 to 7 people who are dealing with Parkinson's disease. That very difficult condition. And what they have decided to do is every week or so, sometimes a week or two every month, They get together and they do a podcast. And they talk about their life and difficulties and help and concern and support. And what has happened is thousands of people around the world are listening in and finding it a source of support, encouragement, good ideas about how they can live better with this chronic disease. And it was named one of the best podcasts of the year. That just made me smile, happy, and glad, because that's what this is all about. People who have a cause, people who have a story to tell, people who are looking for a way to serve others. And this medium, for a small, small price, reaches all around the world and can reach thousands and millions of people. And perhaps you, your business, your favorite cause, you'd like a way to tell your story, to bring your message to life, perhaps make a difference for a long, long time. Well, we can help you do that. So just reach out to me at stanhusted@gmail.com. That's stanhusted@gmail.com. And who knows, maybe you can even have a Western program like this and be a part of the Cowboy Spirit Radio Network. Till next time, bye for now. But here we go, back to the program.
So, quite a few years ago, I don't know, time escapes me now, my great friend Mac McKinney was getting married in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and he was a polo player for years, played a lot up there at that big facility in Calgary, and one of his good friends was, I guess, the patron of Calgary Polo, Fred Mannix, and Fred told the story of is it Rudyard Kipling that wrote the Maltese Cat? But anyway, he talked about that. Do you know the Mannix family of polo?
Yes, I do.
And I think they've kind of moved to Argentina.
What they do is they have two operations, I believe, or three operations, if I'm not wrong, maybe four. They still have the main breeding operation in Calgary. And they have another operation in Buenos Aires, in Pilar. And a little one here, well, I don't know how little, but they have another operation here in Indio, California. And they base themselves in Florida as well. They go to Florida and they spend this, and Freddie Mannix, the son, spends the summer and sometimes in London playing in the English season there. So they're all over the place, and they have they're big patrons in polo, and I happened to meet him 2 years ago when I went to Argentina for their polo pony auction. Since one of my students was Shane Doan, who was the highest scorer. He retired from the Phoenix Coyotes about probably 5-6 years ago. He wanted to take on polo and see what it's like. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to go and visit the Mannix and tell him about Shane Doan, see if they can give him an extra push, see if he can get into polo. But I went there, visit with them, and they were really happy to hear that Shane Doan was taking polo lessons. And they said, well, when he's ready, just let us know. We'll welcome him in Canada or here in Arizona, wherever it is, or in Argentina, because he's one of the biggest superstars of hockey in Canada. It's Gretzky and many others, obviously.
Wow. So Can you talk about the rankings of polo? It's X goals. Can you?
How the handicaps work?
How the handicaps work.
Handicap. Yeah, so handicaps go from -2 to 10. -2 being the really beginner level with no knowledge of riding horses or polo rules, to about 10, which is the guy who pretty much is a professional polo player that knows all the rules. And if you can imagine, it's a big triangle. The base is really wide and the top is really narrow. At this point, I think they have about 15 to 20, 9 to 10 gold players in the world. The rest escalates from there down there and trickles down. Most people fall within -1 and 2 goals. That's what most people are. And then in between, anything above 2 goals is very decent playing level for a player. It's just a question of, professional players usually go between 2 and 6 goals. More than that, it's just a superstar usually. That's what they start making the big bucks. Mm-hmm.
So Stephen is out there on a retired racehorse, dude horse, trail horse. How's his horse doing?
The horses, that mare is doing really well. I mean, we're always looking at the mares and the horses that people bring, and she's doing really well. She's learned the game and she's behaving, so she's doing well. We like her. Yeah.
So does he need another horse so he can go steal another one out of our dude string so he can play more chuckers?
He needs 4 more. Sorry, Russell.
So tell us a little bit about your 2 clinics. You're doing small animal practice at 2 places in Scottsdale?
Mainly at one. I kind of transitioned from the one in McDowell and Hayden location to the one in Villa Linda and 101 location about 2 years ago. It's closer to my house, and I'm pretty much stream my practice to surgery. I see some clients that I've been seeing for a long time, and I've been doing a lot of reproduction on dogs, and that's kind of my niche right there, reproduction surgery, and my old good old clients that I don't want to leave behind, but it is that's kind of what I do right now, and get myself ready to play polo later. So that's
okay. Are you slowing your practice down to make room for more polo?
I think it was a combination of slowing it to make more room to have family time, and therefore I have more time for polo too. So, but you realize that sometimes you narrow your hours at the clinics and the practice, and you become more productive, and you still have plenty of time the rest of the day. So it actually was a positive change.
And if locals, anywhere from Phoenix to Tucson being the most reasonable, if they want to come out and see some real field polo, they can go to your club is called Arizona Polo Club?
Correct. The schedule is on the Arizona Polo Club website. It's pretty simple. We play like a very light checkers on Wednesdays, and then play with more advanced checkers Saturdays and Sundays around 10:30. And yeah, everybody can swing by, walk in, and just it's a tailgate style, so they can park along the field. No dogs. Usually, with just liability purposes, dogs can become liability for everybody. But picnic, bring your drinks and sandwiches or whatever they want to eat there, and more than welcome to come in and watch some polo. Yeah.
Circling all the way back, what are the origins of polo?
The origins of polo are, I think, it's a military exercise from the cavalries to learn how to maneuver the swords. Supposedly it started in the Pakistan, in the Persia region. They used to play with a root of tree. It's called pulu. It's Pulu, I believe. And there was a round root, and they use it as the ball, and any kind of stick that resembles a mallet. So that's pretty much what they started with in that area in Persia and Pakistan. The posts that we see right now, and I think they still stand there, stone posts. So I don't think you wanted to hit them. But that's kind of the route. And the Englishmen when they went to India, they saw the game and they adapted it to cavalry as well. So it is one of those things that they use it as a military exercise, and that's why it's brought from England from India to England, and then from England was brought down to Argentina and United States.
And Stephen, sorry, Alan, go ahead.
Is it a rising sport, or I don't ever see anything about it, but maybe it's just that he doesn't get publicized much. So is it pretty popular or on the rise or on the decline, or how would you describe it?
It's slightly on the rise, but the amount of people that play polo around the world is probably no more than 30,000. And if you look at the people that watch any of these matches, I've been looking at them lately, it's about 5, 6, 8,000 people per match, spectators. And that seems to very, very little to go and tell a big company, hey, can you sponsor this?
Yeah.
So I think the sport is growing because of local polo clubs, but it also has a high attrition rate because it is, people get in and they'll get out for whatever reason, and then more people get in and get out. So you'll have that problem with any sport, but in this sport, if somebody lives with 4 horses or 8 horses and track trailer, it takes a while for somebody to recover that same player.
So you said earlier that, and for obvious reasons, that arena or indoor polo, takes fewer horses, less of a financial commitment.
Correct.
Is either of you, Stephen or Diego, is there any arena polo in Arizona?
I've not played, but you guys play up in Scottsdale, right? Is it?
Yeah. So we got where we have the polo school. We have there's a cover arena. Actually, we're very lucky to have that place. So we rented it out and we can play arena polo, and we have done it. But the problem is when you have arena polo and they only rely on the horses that we can bring up from the ranch, it becomes really tight on the number of people that can play it. So we played last season a little bit, and we're trying to figure out how we can manage the arena polo league. Most of pretty much all the horses that we have are down at the ranch for obvious reasons to play down there. There's another person here in town that is kind of starting their own polo club, but they're doing the polo field. And once that gets going, maybe we'll be able to do matches and meet more people here in town that want to play polo, and we'll do it here in town. But before that, it's kind of difficult. And the reason that we have the arena here is because it's a good vehicle to get people started.
Sure.
And the next step will be playing arena polo, and that I'm just trying to figure out how we can crack that one. But
right. And Stephen's talking about he'd love to get arena polo started here, and
absolutely.
And I could see that could have some legs. Stephen, where do they play elephant polo? Didn't you have a shirt with that?
Yeah, Laura got me. A guest was wearing it, said elephant polo, and she said, "Oh, that's cool." And he actually gave it to her, and she gave it to me, and then she got me another one. I have 2 now, and I believe they play elephant polo in India, and they've got somebody steering the elephant for you, and you sit in one of those baskets, and you've got probably a 12-foot long mallet or something. And there's an elephant polo league in India.
I bet not a whole lot of people have played that.
That's even more elitist, I believe, than regular polo. That's a really expensive one.
Elitist and slow moving.
Yeah. The crashes are spectacular, though, I'm sure.
So we're fast running out of time. Stephen talked about the line, and that, am I right as a casual polo observer that is the critical rule? That's the part of polo that people really have to embrace and understand.
Yes, that is kind of the main one. And you guys say pretty much is the line being played somewhere? It's like so everybody has to imagine that line. So you got to pay attention. If you're not paying attention, or you don't know how to draw that line because you don't have the experience, obviously it's going to be more difficult to you where the line went from and to, and also when did the line change again, because the line can change as gets hit again, or it bounces off somewhere and or somebody or a horse or another person. So that's the critical part, knowing where the line is at any point.
And if not, you get the big wrecks, right? I mean, the not following the line can end badly. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it can be. It can be. But at some point, everybody's paying attention. If you know you're playing with players that are a little bit less advanced, you kind of slow down and just kind of giving the heads up, and you're trying to avoid any collisions if you can avoid them, or you're trying to avoid them all the time, but you're just kind of teaching people how to play safely at all times. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Florez, and Arizona Polo Club in Casa Grande area, Pinal County. If you want to go see real field polo, and see Stephen riding a retired racehorse, that's not uncommon, but she was a trail horse and she's doing well. Or you need reproductive medicine or any small animal work, that's Aztec in Quartz Mountain. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us. Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, I'm not sure I ever really thought of dude ranching or White Stallion Ranch as a romantic getaway, but experience is starting to tell me otherwise. Is I think last season we had 4 unplanned proposals, all fortunately were accepted, and 2 or 3 that were planned where it was all choreographed and someone was asking someone else to marry him. And you know, we've always been a destination for honeymoons, and of course anniversaries are a big thing. Whenever there's a big anniversary trip, people bring their whole family and get the whole family reunion, and people can find their own way through the ranch experience, whether it's horses or all the other activities. But somehow, some way, dude ranching is a place to go for those honeymoons and maybe the place to ask someone to marry you. So www.whitestallion.com, go to the website, do as much or as little as you want, surrounded by the unspoiled Sonoran Desert and all our mountains and views. whitestallion.com. Well, you know, Alan, I just keep thinking about, you know, when Stephen's coach said arena polo and field polo were sort of hockey and soccer, their analogy, and I just think that the outsider looking in, the way polo grows and the way they get that grassroots beginning is more arena polo, because you can use 2 horses instead of 4, 6, or 8. You can kind of get started sooner. You don't get those huge runoffs. You know, you're not playing on 9 acres. You're playing in an arena, really. And you know, Stephen keeps talking about doing it here, and maybe that's something we got in the future.
Well, it sounds like you have a half plan in any case.
Yeah, it might not even be quite half, but I think arena polo is interesting. And they're all interesting, but arena's approachable.
All right, horse lovers, ready to give polo a try? Or maybe watch a match? A Cowboy shout out to Stan Houston's production team. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Tune in next week when talk turns to the history of the Buffalo Soldiers with historian John Langelier. Until then, I'm Lynn Weezy Sneed, reminding you to sit tall and ride safe.
And for our Cowboy Up friends who are celebrating this Easter season and perhaps a little bit of a hard time at the same time, we asked Greg Hager if he had a new song that might be for us, and he said, "I think I've got one," and he sure does. Here it goes, just for you, and thank you, Greg, at this Easter time.
Rest cannot come if you hang on to what you see around you. more that you dwell, the worse it gets. This one thing is true. If the battle's not yours, then don't get involved. It's something you can do. Get on your knees and you'll stand tall, and look what God will do. Pray on, don't be in such a hurry. Pray on, peace floods when you can't worry. Do what you can right where you are. Faith like a mustard seed will go far. Trust in His grace, have joy, for fear is gone. Breathe out, breathe in, pray on. Worry's a robber that steals your peace, leaves emptiness inside, which fills up with anxiousness, fear, and dread, as though a small part died. The longer you live in this state of mind, the harder to get free. The answer is simple to change your life, so listen close to me. Pray on, don't be in such a hurry. Pray on, peace floods when you can't worry. Do what you can right where you are. Faith like a mustard seed will go far. Trust in His grace, have joy, for fear is gone. Breathe out, breathe in, pray on. Pray on, don't be in such a hurry. Pray on, peace floods when you can't worry. Do what you can right where you are. Faith like a mustard seed will go far. Trust in His grace, have joy, for fear is gone. Breathe out, breathe in, pray on. Breathe out, breathe in, pray on.